So, you don't necessarily know how C2 Mavuika works. I'm a little late on this, yes I know, but let's talk about it. So, C2 Mavuika is a constellation that, it can look a little complicated more than it actually is. So let's start off with the first thing about this skill, and that is that Mavuika's base attack is increased by 200. All that means is this 1099 here, this number here, is gonna go up by 200. That's literally all it will do. So I can even show you this here. So we're gonna see 1099 here, and then we're gonna just go ahead, pop the Q, and we will see her, base attack here go up to 1299. So very strong. It is very strong, by the way, because all that really does is give, your attack percent, pieces, right? In any piece that you have attack percent on, that gives it basically a nearly 20% extra effectiveness. However, because she has an extra 100 on it, it's not actually 20%. It's more like, let me do a little calculator. It's more like 18.2% extra, efficiency on your attack stats, on your, attacks here. So it's pretty good. However, it's not, the most insane thing. What really is the most insane thing I think about her C2 is, defense decreased by 20%. Now, you might be like, why is that the, most insane thing? All you have to do for Mavuika now is just tap her E skill, and your characters will do 10% more damage. Around there, around 10%. So decreasing defense by 20% here is really, really strong, because let's say you have fully buffed Nevi, right? Nevi, he's doing great, and he's doing 80,000 damage per hit, right? C2 Mavuika will just go ahead and be like, yo dog, that's 88,000 now. That's all she does. That's basically all she does for existing with her Q or her E skill active. That is all that this ability does. Ring of Searing Radiance, nearby opponent's defense is decreased by 20%. That is all it is. It's a 10% raw damage boost beyond any of the, damage bonuses or anything. There's no, well, there is probably slash not. There's some weird conflicting things about defense decreasing. I have heard that it's better when you stack it, but I don't know, because, well, we don't have characters that stack it. This is a very unique ability where, there are very few characters in the game that genuinely just are able to just do that. And I believe Lisa is one of them. She has defense decreased by 15%. It is, and this is Lisa. This is not a character who's doing 1,000,000 damage on your team, right? So Mavuika just giving you a raw 10% damage boost, just no restrictions, 10% on top of what you already have, legitimately is very, very strong, and I think might be one of the better constellations, or one of the better effects of her C2. But I mean, all three of these effects are really, really good. Now we can come ahead and we can see what the real big thing with Mavuika C2 is, and what you really oftentimes will see a huge damage in. And also, you might not even know how it works, because I'll be honest, a lot of people don't know how this works. So with the Flamestrider, Mavuika's normal attacks, charge attacks, and her Sunfell Slice is, from her Elemental Burst, deal 60, 90, and 120% of her attack as increased damage respectively. What does this mean? From my understanding, it basically is just a Shinha boost. Basically, this is all this is. This is a Shinha boost to, her things. And, just for clarification, the normal attacks get 60%, the charge attacks get 90%, and the Elemental Burst, immediate Q skill hit is 120%. And the immediate Q skill hit is, of course, the hit that comes down, does like a 1.8 million damage or something. You know the hit that I'm talking about, right? But yeah, obviously the charge attacks are also getting the damage boost. The charge attacks also do include her final charge attacks here. So when we're talking about the Flamestrider normal attacks, we're talking about 1 hit, 2 hit, 3 hit, 4 hit, 5 hit, all of those. And then we also have charge attack, cyclic, whatever. But the final damage and the cyclic damage, I don't know how to say that, I'll be honest, but both of those are also being buffed by 90%. So if you don't know how a Shinha buff works, basically it is a flat buff that gets multiplied by crit damage, damage bonus, and I believe reactions. Yeah, so crit damage, damage bonus, and reactions all add to its damage. And the reason why I say reactions, this might actually be the reason why I say reactions here, is if you look at the Vape teams, C0 C0 versus C2, the melt teams with, you know, C0 versus C2 again, it is a 44% increase for the melt teams, and then a, you know, 35% increase for the vape teams. So there is definitely a, you know, reactionary level that I think does buff this. So I just did some experiments on my own with Mavuika Shinha here, and yeah, I can absolutely say that, you know, the C2 would be affected by melts and vapes differently, you know, because it is a multiplier. So really all you're looking for is crit damage, you know, your damage bonus, and then the, you know, reaction that you may be triggering. So technically, in theory, elemental mastery, but not really. Yeah. So technically, Elemental Mastery can also buff her C2. So yeah, that is all for C2 Mavuika. I think I explained everything. Oh yeah, you know, Flamestrider, you know, yeah, I forgot. Ring of Syrian Radiance does not decrease the defense while you are using her Q state. This does not, there's no defense decrease just while you're using, you know, her Q. But when you do have, you know, off-field Mavuika, she is giving the defense decrease. I want to make sure you know, because that was one of the questions I had with early C2, but, you know, it didn't work out. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.